Oh, I'm joined now by my very good friend, Rennae Stubbs, who has a laundry list of things on her resume. But the latest addition is now she is the host of her own show on Amazon Prime Video. It's called Power Hour with Rennae Stubbs. Hi, Rennie.
Hi, friend. How are you?
Congratulations. Tell everybody about this new show. It looks great. You sound great. Your funny personality shines through. What are you up to?
Yeah, I was asked to, the first question that was asked of me before I took this show was, are you ready to settle down a little bit and maybe stay in one place for once? And I was like, yeah, maybe. Because, as you know, Caroline, I played 22 years on the professional tennis tour. Before that, I was roaming around, playing junior tournaments internationally. So I feel like I really have not been home in a settled life since I was about 14 years of age. And so, at the ripe old age of 51, I was given the opportunity to get my own sports show, and I jumped at the chance. And now I'm here in New York City, and I'm not going anywhere. I will be still traveling for ESPN, doing the tennis at the Australian Open, Wimbledon, and eventually the US Open. So I've still got my ESPN duties with tennis, but no coaching, no on the road stuff for me. I'll be here daily, every day, weekdays on Prime Video.
I know what a talented coach you are because I've seen it up close. I mean, I've really watched you take players with slams to their credit and improve their game and give them the confidence that they need. I mean, everybody saw what Serena Williams was able to do at her last US Open, and you were intimately involved at part of that team, helping her get through this moment that had millions and millions of eyes on it, but also with other players as we've been friends over the course of your coaching career. I've seen your gift for that. How much do you enjoy that, and how much are you going to continue to try to find coaching opportunities in the next 10 years or so?
Well, I'll be really frank with you. Not that that's not the thing that I do all the time, but after the US Open, I thought maybe I'd get a call from an agent or two, because unfortunately a lot of times players pick their coaches with the help of their agents. They call up and they say, I need a coach. I'm not happy with this one. Like, is there anybody out there? Can you feel around for me? And I sort of was wondering, maybe someone would call me, clearly knowing that Serena wasn't going to be playing anymore. And also over the last few years, I've been working with Sam Stosur, but she has dwindled down to only playing doubles. And also her last Australian Open, this coming Australian Open, is going to be her last ever tournament. So I just initially thought maybe I'd get a call from a couple of agents to see if I was interested in working with any of their players. But I didn't get a call, which, is unfortunately the sort of thing about women in coaching roles these days, that I don't think that they're first and foremost on a lot of agents' minds, or even sometimes players. So, I was given this opportunity to have this sports show. And so it was either one or the other, and I wasn't getting the call. So I thought, well, this is an opportunity for me to jump at to have my own sports show. I will say I'm going to be I very, very, very much love coaching. I love being an influence in somebody's life in a positive way. So to not have that opportunity for at least a year, this contract with the sports show is for a year. So I will not be working with anyone, certainly for the next year at least. So we'll see where it goes from there, and I'll see if I'll get a call in the meantime.
Well, everything happens for a reason, and I'm glad that you've landed in this hosting spot. The perception from agents that women aren't, top candidates for coaching roles for female players and male players is something that has to change, particularly when there are talented coaches available like you. But I'm glad that you had the opportunity to slow down, settle down, get into this hosting role, because it's something of a departure for what you do as a very talented analyst on ESPN. But there, I'm sure, are very applicable skills from all of the analysis that you've done, all the coaching that you've done. I mean, how are you finding this hosting role to be different, and what are you leaning on to be successful?
Well, people like you, because, as you know, I've never hosted a sports show. I've never been a host. I was a host a little bit for Tennis Channel back in the day. I sat at a desk and, interviewed players. And so I was technically the host of that situation. But as you know, hosting and being an analyst are very different things. It's kind of like singles and doubles. You have to learn new muscles. You have to learn new ways to intro into a show, to be able to traffic a show, to be able to get in and out of commercial. That might sound like weird, but it's a learned muscle. So for me, it was, I was a little anxious going into it. So I was clearly asking you a lot of questions because, you know, you've been such a great host for so many different networks. So it was just being able to learn that muscle of hosting and trafficking a show is different to getting asked the question like you're doing to me now, and me answering it are very different than what you're doing in this situation, which is asking the questions, coming up with the questions, listening to what I'm saying, then, you know, responding to that. They're all very different muscles that you have to learn as a host. So those are the things that I've started to learn. I'm starting to get more and more comfortable. So I'm coming after your job.
I know you love a challenge, and I also know that you're such a great analyst, because not only do I come to you at every tournament with every question about every player, and that coaching background plays into it. Like, it all is kind of interwoven together. I know how great of an analyst you are. Are you finding that you're liking hosting, being able to just learn? It's a new challenge. I know you like to be challenged. I mean, which one do you kind of like more?
Well, I'll be, you know, the thing that about me is that and I think this is true of any successful athlete or somebody who's, you know, already sort of done really well in their sport. Clearly, I was I was a great doubles player, and I achieved I never dreamed that I would achieve what I did on the tennis court, but you really like to be good at what you do. So whenever I choose to do something, I don't go into it wanting to be okay at it. I don't want to be, oh, you know, Rennae's okay, or she's an okay coach, or she's okay as an analyst. I want to be really good at what I do. So I want to learn, and I want to get better. The first thing I said to my executive producers was, look, you know, they gave me some really good feedback and they were very positive. And I said, listen, if there's anything negative, please tell me. I'm an athlete. I need to learn. And the only way for me to get better is for you to actually tell me. And sometimes people are afraid to say that. And, you know, as you know, in television, unfortunately, sometimes you're doing great because you're still on the air, but then all of a sudden you're fired and you don't sometimes know why. And is it because I'm not doing a good job? But you need to help me get better. So I think from my perspective, I just don't want to suck at anything. So I like to be good at it, you know? So
yeah. And you're tough, and you're tough enough to handle critical feedback.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are tough enough to handle critical feedback. And I wish that there was a little bit more transparency sometimes in our industry, candidly, for our bosses, executives to say, like, hey, I need a little bit more of this, I need a little bit more of that. And we're so personally invested and woven into it all, because at the end of the day, it's us. I mean, we are projecting ourselves. And so it can be kind of tough in certain moments to get that critical feedback that you need. But you mentioned your background as a Grand Slam champion, as an elite athlete. I mean, to learn and grow, I think, is such a huge part of why you're really successful with everything you do. I haven't even brought up Racket Magazine, the podcast that you guys have. It's a very long list, and we've been friends for such a long time. So I'm so proud of you, and congratulations again. And everybody, go find it. Your show is on demand now, so go get it. You can find Amazon absolutely anywhere. So make sure you check out Amazon Prime Video and find the show. I wanted to bring you on for a couple of minutes to talk about Breakpoint, this new series that's premiering mid-January from the creators of Drive to Survive. You and I loved Formula One before Drive to Survive because we're really devoted fans of sport.
I think you did. I really, honestly, I was not interested in F1 at all.
Are you serious?
No, I would look at it and be like, okay, you know, but I wasn't super invested in it. I didn't like, if there was a choice to watch, you know, Formula One or football or Formula One, clearly tennis or anything like that, I would always choose another sport. But yes, I got into Formula One basically only because I watched Drive to Survive, and someone had mentioned it. You should watch this show. You would really like it. I'm like, Formula One, really? I mean, I remember those words exactly to my friend in China when we were there for the tennis tournament. And Sam Stosur, my player, said, you should watch it. You really like it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I started watching it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so into this now. So I was different to you.
So you got into it because of the show, like so many other people. I mean, millions of people, the ratings, it's reflected in the ratings. I mean, tremendous growth. And now tennis has this opportunity to peel back the curtain in a similar way. What do you expect people will learn about tennis players that they don't necessarily know?
Oh, God. Hopefully too much, you know. I mean,
like, what's the hook? I mean, somebody might look at it and go, well, I don't really like tennis, like another Drive to Survive. I don't know. But in spending a lot of time with you, honestly, there's a lot of drama.
Oh my God, it's drama. You're going to see tears. You'll see people getting upset at one another. You'll see people crying because they've won, or it's just all the emotions that go into being a professional athlete in general. But also you'll see the stories that you never ever hear, and a player's never going to go into a press conference and be like, oh, I hurt my ankle and that's why I played badly today. I mean, every now and again, some player will go in there and say, well, I was injured, but you may see the, should I play today? I don't know. I don't know all the stuff that's going to happen, but I know what happens on the tennis tour, and there's a lot of, that's going on behind the scenes that nobody sees. And I hope they see the humanity in tennis players. I hope they see the humanity in wins and losses and what people go through on a daily basis and weekly basis, and also everyone thinks that they're all tough and they're making money and why aren't they happy? You're going to see all the onion in this documentary.
I hope people see how lonely it is for some people, because, sports in their entirety have like a gladiatorial quality where we parade out athletes, whether they're on rosters of 30 plus or they're individual athletes, and we put them in arenas and say, okay, go perform for us, entertain us, delight us. And tennis, I've learned through you, quite candidly, is such an isolating sport in some ways. It's a mental sport before I think it's even a physical sport. And there's so much weighing on the individual to execute. And we've heard certain stories come out. A lot of people are familiar with Marty Fish's story, and Naomi Osaka's been very public about the depression that she's battled and how it can feel very isolating. But I think that's a more common story in tennis than some people might think. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, it is a very lonely sport because, ultimately, even if you have a big team around you, you go back to your room by yourself. I remember the greatest and worst moments of my career were when I'd get into the shower after a match. And clearly there's no cameras going to be into the shower or the locker room. But, that's another layer that you won't see on this because clearly they can't go in there. But I remember going in and I'd turn the shower on and I would cry like a baby after losing, and I would cry after winning. So I would, there was that moment of like, oh my God, like I did this, or, oh, I'm going to have to live with this now for days and weeks and ruminate over wins and losses. And, when you have that moment alone is, like I said, you ruminate over everything, whether it's a win or a loss. So, I think the thing that I'm going to enjoy about watching it is hopefully people get to really see how tough it is. Tennis is very, very hard. And you can play a great match and still lose. You can go out there thinking you're ready to go and you can just absolutely stone and play terribly. And I hope you see the collaboration between a coach and a player as well, or their fitness trainer, or the mental part of tennis, because yes, it's physical, and yes, you have to hit the ball perfectly, but so much of the end part of matches and the end part of tournaments comes down to this. And that's what you'll see the great ones. They'll get over those humps. And they actually had some incredible storylines because they followed players like Ons Jabeur, Ajla Tomljanovic, Matteo Berrettini went through an incredibly hard year. So you're going to see him dealing with terrible injuries through the whole year when he had all this pressure on him. And then you're going to see someone like Taylor, who had an incredible Wimbledon match against Rafael Nadal, and we're going to see how he reacted to that match. So you're going to see all this. Ons Jabeur made the finals of Wimbledon, the US Open, and they followed her through the whole year. So that was an incredibly great story. But you'll also see you're going to see Ajla Tomljanovic's win over Serena Williams. That's going to be in the background as well.
Yeah, that's going to be wild.
There's going to be all of these great storylines that people are just going to lap up. They're going to love it. And the best part about it, just like F1, is it just keeps going every year.
Yeah, no, it's true. And hopefully it will bring people to the sport. Segue to a topic we're probably going to part each other on this interview.
I know where this is going.
On bad terms. But you're seeing all these professional athletes get into pickleball now. Did you think that was where it was going? Did you know I was going to say pickleball?
Yeah, well, I knew straight away by your tone of voice. But listen.
Why do you hate it?
I just want to get something straight here to everybody out there. I have no problem with people playing pickleball, particularly people of an older generation that, find it really hard to play tennis now. They can't, run around the court like they used to, even in doubles, and it's difficult for them when they get into their, 70s and 80s. And if they're getting out there and playing pickleball and they're enjoying it and they're having a socially great time, go for it. I'm all for athleticism, getting out and being athletic and moving around and doing and having fun playing a sport. And pickleball is that for many, many people. And I am overjoyed for them if they have those opportunities to get out there and be fit and still be active. I'm all for it. My only issue with pickleball is often you see these like 50-year-old bros that come out and push kids off of playgrounds and, you know, put their lines down on tennis courts, and they take tennis courts away from people wanting to play tennis. Particularly, we live in New York City, and there are not a lot of places to play tennis. And then when you've got people playing pickleball for like hours and hours, and they just run in their mates, you know, they're 50, 60-year-old dudes, and a lot of them are dudes, pushing kids off of playgrounds. And they've got banned in the West Village in a playground down there where kids were riding their bikes and maybe having a little tennis lesson or, you know, running around with their friends. And they were getting pushed off by like 8 guys wanting to play pickleball for like hours and hours on end. So my only issue is, don't take away the tennis courts from, you know, the kids. I want kids to play tennis. I don't want them to play pickleball because I want them to be really active. And pickleball is not active enough for kids. They're just, you know, it's a lot of pity patty and no one really moves and you can't go in the kitchen. And like, what's the point? They hit the ball, run to that one spot, and then they just stand there the whole day. Like in tennis, you're running around the whole court. They're getting such an active workout. So I want kids to play tennis. If they play pickleball and tennis, I'm good with it. And the thing that really frustrates me the most is when I turn on the tennis channel and they're playing pickleball for hours on there, and they are not showing NCAA tennis. They're not showing the Orange Bowl, you know, the most up and coming juniors in the world that you will see on the Pro Tour in a couple of years. They're not showing tennis on Tennis Channel because pickleball are paying Tennis Channel to put pickleball on Tennis Channel. And so either Tennis Channel has to figure out a way to have their channel make money by better means, whether it be marketing or all kinds of things, or I'm just upset that we're seeing pickleball on Tennis Channel. That's get your own channel. If you think pickleball is that popular, then you should have your own channel. That's kind of how I feel. So it's frustrating to turn on Tennis Channel and see pickleball for 4 hours a day.
I would think that other athletes, professional athletes who have a similar mindset to yours would feel the same way that you do. And yet you see Naomi Osaka, Tom Brady, LeBron James, there are major athletes who are supporting pickleball. I mean, is that ultimately a money play at the end of it? I mean, you're starting to see some major athletes attach themselves to this sport.
Yeah, it's like a fad. You know, it's like, oh, what can we invest in? You know, they're all putting some money in to make some money. They're not going to put in money to not try and make money. And that's the bottom line. And I do think there's a lot of people are also getting paid to play, are getting paid to be involved in it. And so if you're a tennis player getting paid to promote pickleball, I have a problem with that. I would rather you promote the Orange Bowl. I would rather you promote college tennis. Because college is a perfect example of like, I would say well over 50%, probably more like 70% of people that are playing tennis at college in the United States are foreigners. So we are doing a very poor job. The USTA is doing a very poor job, and tennis in general is doing a very poor job of not filtering players from this country to get college scholarships. And I think that's a fault also of the USTA.
I brought that topic up on Tennis Channel and didn't get asked back. I basically got fired.
Example, you know, because you were asking
fired from the Tennis Channel for that.
Yeah, because you were asking a very pertinent question of why are you not getting behind having more Americans filter through the systems in college? Because guess what? It's an amazing way to get onto the Pro Tour. It's also an amazing way to get a free scholarship and a free ride to college. So they have to push that more. But you've got to want to see it on the television, you know? And so that thing. And I think a lot of these tennis players investing in pickleball is just, you know, them trying to make a quick buck. I just really feel in a couple of years' time, I think it's a fad. And I think a lot of the older generation of people will keep playing it, but I hope the young kids go back and play tennis.
Yeah, it was definitely a darling of the pandemic. And like you said, if an elderly...
So was tennis, Caroline.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, look.
This is what bothers me. They say, well, pickleball's the fastest growing sport. Well, because it started at 0.
Right.
So,
well,
I mean, tennis...
You manipulate anything. They do that. That's just a marketing ploy. They do that with everything. Oh, yeah, fastest growing this, fastest growing that. It's like, compared to what?
Yeah, I mean, tennis grew. Tennis was I think it was the #1 sport growth in the country during the pandemic. Our rise in tennis participation and sales of tennis rackets and tennis balls was outstanding. It was through the roof. And anyone can go to any, you know, sort of knowledgeable consumer internet thing and find that out. And it was. Tennis grew enormously during the pandemic, and it still is.
Hmm. Rennae, sorry to send you out like this, but I appreciate your time. And I'm so glad that people can find you now any day they want, Monday through Friday, on demand, Amazon Prime. You go to Amazon, don't you? Is that where you find it on demand?
You go to Prime Video. Everybody has Prime Video on their phone, or if you have any kind of Amazon account, you just go to Prime Video and you go to sports, and you can just type the Power Hour and put my name in, and you can find all of my shows on demand. Or it's live. It's live every day at 5, so I can't screw up because it's live, and you know what that's like.
Yes, I do. Thank goodness that's not this. I love you. Thank you. Best of luck to you, and appreciate the insight into this new series. I think a lot of people are excited about.
Yeah, me too. I'm super pumped about it.
All right.
Thanks, Carol.
Thanks.